Hey guys, it's your course director, Emily Ray here. Just wanted to give you guys a little positive, productive feedback on the portfolio sites that you recently revised and submitted last week. So I'm going to go through these sites one by one and just poke around and take a look and give you guys just a few notes on possibilities for where you could take this in your next iteration. So first up, we have the site of Tashana. Oh, we've got your branding over here, your name down, and then art director, so we get a little bit of information about you. One thing I'll say is that this image is nice of you, but it's kind of covering, or the header up here is crossing over your head here. Maybe if you can change the focal point of this, where you can bring it down a little bit, that might be nice. We can get a clearer picture there. We've got what looks like some really nice photography that you've shared here. Maybe a little bit of context, right? So you tell us that you're an art director, but are these scenes that you set up? Did you shoot this? Did you edit it? What was your role here? For each of these things, make it very clear what it is that you're trying to share, with your audience. So a lot of great shots, places that we can connect with you online. I'm hovering over these here and I can see that they are linking to places we can connect with you elsewhere. Going to go next to projects. So here we've got a page title and a video. And what I'm loving here is that you've given it the title, a little bit of the details of the production, and then what you did. So here we've got exactly kind of what your role was in it. This is a really wonderful example, actually. I'm going to refer other students to what you've done here because it looks nice and it's very informative. So all that's really great, Tashana. This is definitely a nice push forward with this portfolio. Under experience, so here we have what looks like your resume. So I can see that this is in fact text on a page. So all this is keyword rich and it's searchable, so that you can be found by search engines. And just a little bit of your background, where you went to school, and some of the things that you can do. So all this is great. So we've got links here to these different things. Wondering what the difference is between these two things, why you have two. Maybe you can provide a little bit of insight into each one of these different Instagram accounts. On the About page, so just a little bit about you. One thing I'll say is I like the way that the text really borders and balances the page. You had these page titles centered up here on all the other pages. You might want to make that consistent. Your paragraph text here, your body text, needs to be left aligned. When you have a large amount of text, just for increased readability and the usability of the information, it would be better if it was all left aligned, so that all of these lines would start at the new place. When our eyes would wrap, they'd go back to a consistent spot. That's really going to help with your user experience. We've got your contact information down here, your email, and your telephone number. On the contact page, so here we have a map, and we can schedule a creative consultation and information about how I can get in touch. I'm curious as to, so here we are on the About page, and then we've got your contact information. Why this is here and not I know that it is down here again, like repeated, but that was a little confusing for me at start. Overall, this is really great. I'm quite pleased with the progress that you've made on this, and looking forward to seeing how you can implement more elements of that personal brand that you've been working on into this. But nice job, Tashana. So next up, we've got Daniel's site. So remember the site from the last month that I took a look at it. It's very clean right off the bat. We've got clear branding information. So this is consistent with what I'm seeing on your business card, and the logo elements that you created, which is nice for the brand consistency. Home portfolio, about, contact, and blog. A nice picture here. And then your mission statement to kind of make it very clear what it is you want to do and who it is that you want to help. So it's nice that you make that really clear from the start. So I'm going to go ahead and select portfolio, and from here I can choose education or freelance work. A lot of students struggle with, do I include school projects or do I only share professional work? This is a great way to distinguish between the two. You don't have to choose one or the other, but it's nice to make it clear and provide the context for which is which. I'm going to go next to education. So here, I see all of your Lynda certificates, which is great, readable, easily scanned here at the bullet list. And if someone wanted more proof, you could then follow this up with the certificates. But I mean, this right here is just as good as the certificate and not nearly as taxing to sift through. So here we have several things that you want to highlight. So, you've got some Photoshop work, some design colors, mood board. I really like that you include the title of the work and then the description of it, and also the software that you use, because that lets people know, your proficiencies in those areas. I'm going to go next over here to projects, to your freelance. And so here, this is just some logos design that you've done, and you've set this up in a similar way to your education page, and all of this is looking great. The titles here, it looks like they're coming up potentially as the file name, so that might be something you want to update so that you give it a unique title. On the About page, again, nice, great photo. You've broken up this text really nicely. The page is balanced, and you don't overwhelm people with the amount of text here. I'd say that it's really a well done page. On the contact page, I'm just jumping back here because I just want to note the style of this page title versus what you have here. So this is a little bit more plain. You might want to see, see it be the same from page to page, whichever style you go with. Just the important thing there is to be consistent. So we've got your contact information, and then a big white space here. Curious as to your thought process for pushing this down. My recommendation would be to bring it up, so you fill this available area. And then you've got a couple of different icon styles here. This one's round, and this one's that rounded edge square. Again, you might choose one or the other and just be consistent. Last but not least, we've got your blog, which is including, detailing some of the projects that you're doing, and highlighting, where you're spending your time, or where, what kinds of other projects you want to do. I really love the inclusion of a blog on your portfolio sites because, number one, it's a great avenue to talk more about the work that you're doing or that you want to do, but also it's a great area that you can demonstrate your writing skills. Communication is so important, and written skills are incredibly sought out in the professional world. So the inclusion of this is great. It's also awesome for keyword richness of your site, and just the optimization of it. Daniel, this is a great push forward. It was strong to begin with, but even now it's looking even better. Excited to see this fill out. As you guys are only about halfway through the program, so I can look forward to seeing just how much additional great work that you're going to be involved with. So here we've got Robert's site, or Rob, and so one of the things that I noticed when I first came to the site, I'm going to go ahead and refresh it, because what I see is a very fast, I'm wondering if it's going to slow down. So we've got a slideshow here, right? And it's cycling through different pictures, and it's holding now. Maybe it was just, okay, yeah, okay. So I tried to hit the, okay, right. So pardon me while this is loading or displaying. I'm seeing, just let me note that I'm seeing some inconsistent loading times or screen times here. The first time I saw it, it was moving very fast, kind of blinking. Here it doesn't look to be on auto at all, or maybe really slow. So that's just something you want to check the settings of, because I'm just getting an inconsistent, behavior from trying to click through this or view them. Another thing to consider is the focal point of these images, right? So this guy's head's getting, covered by the header here. There should be a way for you to drag this down a little bit so that you can get that, that viewable window in the optimal spot there. So I'm gonna, I'm on the home page, and again, I'm gonna refresh it because what I'm trying to note here is that here, Rob, without anything, without scrolling or without any pictures moving, I don't really, first of all, I only get this part of your logo, which is, just your initials and not your full name. And it doesn't say anything about what you do yet. I'm still kind of waiting for that to show up. I know that, so here on this slide it does, marketing solutions, always on target. And it's kind of matching the photo here, but like if the timing of such was just that I didn't see this, then I'm going to miss something really important important about your site. I know that I can scroll down here to see more. So we've got your marketing tagline here and the work that you do, and a little bit of about you, which is awesome. But just, note that that could be a possibility that someone might not scroll and they might not get that extra information that you intend. We've got your social media down here, which is great. We can connect with you in all of these areas. One thing I wanted to note too is the way that your header up here is opaque. As this goes up, we see a lot of layering of elements: the background image, the text, the nav, the opaque, the opaqueness of this area. Might be something that you might just want to increase the opacity here to a solid color, so we're not, having this many overlaps in this area. This bit of information is great. It's short, it's brief, but also very much to the point. So this is all looking really great. On the about page, so here we have a nice picture of you doing your work. I love it when students have not just a headshot, but like pictures of them doing whatever it is that they love. So that's really awesome to see there. You have a nice short bit of text here, well summarized, and then I love to see a bulleted list because that's very easily scanned information. On portfolio, so here we've got, I'm scrolling down. One thing is that, like with this video, the play button, it kind of blends in with a photo. At first I thought this was just a picture, and there's nothing here that invites me to play it. There's nothing here that says the title of the video or even a description of what I might be watching if I choose to click it. So, since this is the focal point of that page, you might include something like watch this, watch this introduction, watch my sizzle reel, something here that gives a title and then an invitation to play, because I almost skipped over this play button because I just thought it was something, an element in that picture there. So here's some of the logos to see the samples of the work that you've done. Let me go back here. I like that you've included this information. You tell us what to do, right? Click on these to see what I've done. I'm hoping maybe for something similar here for the video. So I'm clicking on this, and then you give a nice description of the project, what you did, and like your role in it. And then these are the various assets that you created. This is very well done. Really liking to see the context that you provide on the projects here. I'm going to go back and just choose another one to take a look at. Let's see. Famous personalities. So here, again, you do a nice job of just highlighting the project and then giving me a little bit of background information on each one of these things. So that's very well done. Last but not least, going to jump to the contact page. So here, tell people how and why you want them to contact you, which is great. This is how we can do it. Simple contact form. Overall, this is a really nice push, Rob. You've done a lot of work here, and it's really coming together. And so it's fun for me having you guys back to back in these months, because I can really see a tremendous amount of growth between then and now. So here we have India's site. One thing that I'll say that I notice is that this does not include any of the personal brand that you worked on. So you had really kind of a fun Art Deco style in what you created there, but this is very, it looks just very much like what was available in the template. So you have kind of a unique visual eye, and but I'm not seeing so much of your personality put into here. In the discussion on, kind of what you are looking forward to doing with this site, you talk about adding more of your projects, but I'm looking and I'm not really seeing anything yet where I can look at any of it, right? So right now these social media icons are all going to Wix locations, and then up here we do have an about page, and on it you've got a nice picture here, and the site's very clean and laid out well, but just kind of a brief who am I, right? You give a little bit of your background and the work that you've done, but no projects yet. So I'd really like to see an iteration of this that is starting to include more of your work, because as a portfolio site, it's definitely missing that component. Again, your social media is just still linking out to Wix. And the branding on this is we've got your name down here and McAfee Media, but like it just doesn't match in any way the other assets that you were working on this month. So definitely want to work towards pushing to a more consistent place with that. Here we have the portfolio of Megan. So this is an evolution of what you created last month, and I can see that you've definitely been working on it. One thing is that I don't see that logo that you were working on. The color scheme, yes, kind of this really beautiful rose or coral color is awesome, but it's really hard to see on the gray, and it's especially hard, the Simply Extraordinary part, is when you're using a decorative font like this, something that's cursive or swirly, the capital letters tend to be a bit more ornate, like they have lots of tails and curly cues on them. So when you do something in all caps, it makes it extremely hard to read. So aside from the contrast here making it hard, just the font choice, if you're going to go with a font like this, it's so much easier to read when you use this title case. Capitalize the first letter and then lowercase for the rest of them. That's what I'd like to see up here for Simply Extraordinary. The decorative fonts are also like nice for a heading or a subheading, but this kind of text is hard as a body font. It's incredibly difficult to read in large quantities, and like this is not that much text because you've done a nice job streamlining it to a short amount. But if you use something that's cleaner, like a sans serif font, it will just increase the readability of what you've created here. So I like definitely that you you've summarized the work that you want to do and have given us a nice snapshot here, right? So we've got this rotating thing here of it looks like different media assets, right? And you give us a little bit of information about each. It looks like here we have a video maybe, or nope. What is this? Okay, this play button, I thought it was a video, but it's just a play button for your slideshow. So that was a little bit confusing because it kind of looked like maybe an introduction video there. So maybe something you want to think about the placement of this, or kind of the images that you're sharing there. A little bit about you. So this is an interesting word wrap. I would look to maybe make this font or the typeface a little bit smaller so that gets all up on one line and doesn't wrap down. I like the bullet points here because it makes it really easy to read through. We got a nice video of you, but again, anytime that you're including a video, you want to follow it up with a title and then a description of like what it is that, if I only have a few minutes, should I press play on this? And I don't have the extra information to make an informed choice about that. So always give people more information so they'll know how to interact with your site. So here under my work, we've got a link to the Contact Me page. We've got some poems, which are cool, but one of the things, that I'm noticing, so I see these poems, and is this your name? Are you writing this, or are you creating the artwork for this individual? Because it's a little unclear because you introduce yourself as Megan, but then we have a different name or an attribution here. Did you create the artwork that these are on? So these are all questions that I have that should be clear. The other thing too is I like the artwork, but because you have turned these words into a picture of words, they're not searchable. So I can't highlight this text, can't do anything else with it. So something to think about: are you highlighting your art here, or are you highlighting the words? Because I can find your art by visiting the site, but like, let's say I was like, what was that really beautiful poem that you wrote? And I typed in the first line: I valued your mind, admired your strength. Google wouldn't be able to find this on this site because these aren't words. It's a collection of pixels in the shape of words. And so it's something for you to think about: what is my intent with sharing this here? We've got these novel excerpts. So this is, you are a writer, so these are things that you've included. And then testimonials, right? So this is cool, but I encourage you to think about a more creative way to present this, right? Give it a different visual look and feel. Pepper these throughout the site instead of putting them in bulk down here. Maybe include a picture of the person who said it, or some context under which that they were working with you. So definitely some ideas here for how you could make it clear about what you're sharing. Again, the About Me. So I'm seeing like a couple different things, right? So on the home page here, I've got a little about you, and then I've got a video, and then more about you here. Just wondering like how we can maybe consolidate this like into one area. So your home page could be, you're using this area right at the top, this high value real estate area for a slideshow that includes some interesting images, but like I don't really have the context to understand them. So maybe your home page could be consolidated with your about page, and that is the information that we get there. Because I thought that I had already read the about me stuff, but it turns out that there was more. So just be thoughtful about that. And then you have your resume. So here again, it's nice because this is searchable. You see how I can highlight the text? That means that Google can find you in this combination of words. One thing to say though is that like this is a hard read, right? Both for the typeface that you've chosen and then the white text on top of the light gray. I would encourage you to maybe go with something that's a bit more of a color contrast. Again, the kind of coral color on the gray is hard too. While all of these colors I really like, just kind of the combination and the layering that you're using them for. This coral looks great on the white. It absolutely looks nice here, but it's very kind of muddled on the gray. And this black looks great on the white, but the white doesn't look so hot on the gray. So just explore this a little bit more, tweak a few things, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next iteration of this. So here we have the site of Narcisse James. So it's fun to see your brand, right? Like, because I've been enjoying watching this throughout the month. We've got your very consistent color scheme. One thing to note is this kind of avocado color. It seems a little bit off-brand from what I've seen. Everything else you've done. You might consider just changing this back to yellow there. Obviously it's going to be hard to use yellow text here. Maybe this is a black box with yellow text inside of it. Something to think about. Get to know your publicist. So anytime you have bullet points, you want them aligned to the left so that there's a hard boundary or a hard edge here, because that makes it easier to read and scan. It's nice that we've got your contact information down here in the footer of the page, and I can go find you in all these locations. A very nice picture here. I remember your site from last month as being strong, and it's looking even more evolved now. So here we have your resume, your professional skills. One thing I will say is that it's really hard to read things in all caps. Like this, consider instead of using all caps, maybe if you want a contrasting style, like that could be something you could do there. Again, the avocado seems a little bit off-brand. Let's see. This is also like some inconsistency. This typeface that you have here, it's a sans serif type, and here you have a serifed one. So, again, just look for ways to make that a bit more consistent across the site. So here we've got your latest projects. I like that you highlight several different ones. With your portfolio, you don't have to share everything you've ever done. It's okay to pick just a handful of what your best projects are and have that be like a revolving door of your best work. So here we've got your branding. I like that you give the little bit of context, the mood board, and the logo development. And here we've got social media ad for Real Deal Tacos. So that's awesome and looking nice. Wondering if I click on it. Yes, in fact, I can get a bigger version, and you let me know the name of it there. So that's well thought out. And then we have a little testimonial down here. One thing I'll say that this is kind of a big chunk of text. You might think about breaking this up into like a more sizable sound bite, right? And highlighting it in a different space, right? Like, because by the time I get to your latest projects, I'm not necessarily thinking that testimonials are going to be found here, let alone going to absorb this entire paragraph. So maybe break this up and put it on, someplace like your home page. Last but not least, let's go to your contact. Simple and functional, so just a form. I'm wondering, do you need a contact page? Because everything that you share down here is available up here. It doesn't hurt, but just something to think about, something to mull over as you're making decisions about how to move this to its next best iteration. But overall, again, like your site is strong, and happy to look at any future revisions. And then last but not least, we have Logan's site here. So here I see the brand that you've been working on. I've given you some feedback, directly on that. I know that you are a game journalist, and so we've got this remote control. The color scheme, kind of like this, Tiffany blue teal. It kind of, it brings in this area here, but the white box that it's in kind of takes us out of this, atmospheric type environment. So you might want to think about creating this as a transparent background PNG. You say Elmer here and then Logan Elmer. If your brand is clear, you don't need both because it would be a bit redundant. Here we just get a little bit of information about your work, places that we can connect with you online in your social media, which is great. So that's the home page. On the About page, so here we get just a little bit of your background, your education and skills. This is a bit of dense paragraph text. I would maybe like to see some imagery and stuff on this page. What are creative ways that you could break this up and make it more palatable? Could you make a video with this information? It seems to be pretty dense, and so I would encourage you to think about ways to just again break it up so that people can move through it in a kind of a more airy fashion. And then here we've got links to some of the articles that you've created. So you talk about writing being key. So obviously, you are a writer, so words are important here, but understanding the medium, right? So you know that the web is someplace where people interact with content in a sort of a task-seeking or a mission-driven fashion. And so you want to write and lay things out in a way that people, that's how they absorb the information. So here we have Samurai Jack. You give the title of the article and then you give a little context. You might want to put a little spacing between these two, these articles, right? And then maybe make the article title a bit bigger to draw our eyes there. And just noticing up here, you aren't capitalizing your eyes. I don't know if that's like a thing that you do, but just pulling it out as it doesn't seem like you're having any sort of other kind of capitalization nuances or rules that I can notice. So I'm just pointing these things out for you here. Overall, Logan, this is definitely you're pushing it forward and into a better place. Think about that feedback that I gave you on the logo and see about making this a bit more consistent too, like with some of the strokes and the weights and things that we talked about with that. But overall, definitely progress. So this is kind of the end of our time together here in Portfolio 3. So I wanted to thank you for the work that you're doing on here, but also remember that I'm a resource to you guys moving forward. If you want someone who's seen your site before, please feel free to get back in touch with me. You can also check in on the MCBS Facebook group. Thanks, guys.